last time you saw me, I was winding my way up a mountain in search of an adventure. In case you missed it, I'm solo camping my way through Oman, a small Middle Eastern country with the Hajar mountain range as a backdrop. I came here unsure of what I'd find, simply craving some nature and seeking to better understand a place I'd heard very rarely mentioned on the travel scene. I certainly found adventures. I swam in the Gulf of Oman, I camped under starry skies, and I literally pushed my car out of the sand. And yet, the moments I remember most involve the people that I met, families who welcomed me in, and new friends who went out of their way to make me feel at home. There is definitely magic here. Oh, and mountain goats, plenty of those too. Let's go find some more of both. So I'm officially in the mountains. Up here in the mountains near Nizwa is basically one of the oldest parts of Oman. Nizwa used to be the capital of Oman before Muscat became the capital. So there are a lot of little towns and villages up here that have been around for millennia, basically. So Al Hamra is one of those. Today I'm just gonna check it out, do some photography. So yesterday I was sitting with my Omani friend drinking some kara, and I offered to make him a PB&J. And he looked at me like, it's not the most extreme culinary feat, but like, there's nothing like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when you're hungry, you know? 10 minutes up the mountain from Al Hamra is the hillside town of Misfat al Abriyeen, my first stop for the day. The town is pedestrian only, meaning I have to leave my Outlander on the road and enter by foot. These homes have been around for centuries, and while some may appear abandoned, Misfat is actually a living village, home to plenty of date farmers and friendly kittens. Everything in this village is 700 to 1,000 years old, and all of the buildings you can like see basically how they're constructed with the mud brick. Also how the palm used to be the ceiling when the ceiling was still there. I'm just hiking into this canyon now. It is just so green and the sun is shining. How can you not be happy in a place that looks like this? Check out the view and then also check out my friends. Hi. Meet Bidya, Billy, and Mac, 3 fellow adventurers who adopted me after finding me wandering alone in the valley. We explore the winding falaj system below the town for a while until, with promises to visit them someday in Muscat, it's time to say goodbye. Bye!
Bye, family.
Bye! Bye! Back down the mountain, the sun is beginning to set over Old Town Al Hamra, painting all the buildings in golden light. It's here I find myself invited into Beit Safa, a living history museum in a restored Omani home. My invitation comes from Ahmed, one of the guides, who immediately serves me date syrup and plenty of Omani snacks.
The photographer, of course.
We'll come back to him, but in the meantime, I could just go for a plate of mandi, so let's go do that. So does it count as glamping if I eat chicken mandi instead of cooking over a campfire? I don't know, but I don't care. I am just so ready to find a campsite and just go to sleep. Spoiler alert, I did not go to sleep. I told y'all Ahmed would make another appearance, and so before I knew it, I was sitting above the town of Al Hamra, drinking coffee and eating halwa at 10 p.m. Maybe it was the caffeine keeping me awake, or maybe it was finding myself surrounded by new friends, even miles away from home. Good morning. It's an hour to Jebel Shams, so I am awake and I'm gonna get on the road right away. Today I'm driving to hike the tallest peak in the Gulf, Jebel Shams. What I don't know is that I wouldn't be hiking it just once today, but twice. Keep watching, you'll soon see what I mean. Now I'm entering the part of the drive where it's like 20 kilometers to where I'm going, but it's like a 50-minute drive because the road is so windy. And from what I've heard from people, the road actually turns into a dirt road in a little bit. My mother is going to hate this part of the video. Hey friends! Good morning! So this morning I am solo hiking on Jebel Shams, which is the tallest peak in Arabia. I'm on the balcony walk, which walks around the entire giant canyons below the peak. And I mean, look at this. Facing this mountain by myself felt like my biggest challenge yet, like a physical representation of my decision to go about this entire trip alone. I go a little more into it on TikTok, but walking along the rim with the canyon on one side and the mountain on the other reminded me that I can be simultaneously small and strong. I was just walking along the trail and look what I stumbled upon. Oh my gosh, and they're nestled here, like within the face of the canyon. Wow. Supposedly somewhere there is a little pond at the top of this mountain, but I've been exploring and I just have not found any kind of indications. The sun is getting high in the sky and it is time for me to eat and make my way back. 2 hours later, I'm back at my car, eating chips Oman and warding off friendly visitors. However, it isn't long before I run into another familiar face. Look who's here! It's not Ahmed, it's this guy. Welcome to my little home.
By my little house.
My little house.
Okay.
Give us the tour.
Yeah, here we have the bathroom. We have the kitchen.
We have the kitchen
I
area.
know what this room for. I think this is the living room.
This is the seating area.
Yeah, only this centimeter, this is a living room.
I've once again run into Ahmed and his cousin Hatem, who have come to hike the balcony walk and invite me to join them. Listen, at the risk of feeling like Groundhog Day, I'll spare you the details of our hike, but I will share the one important one. We found the freaking pool!
Mina.
The shower?
Shower time.
That evening, Ahmed and Hatem invite me to join them at their campsite. I quickly find that this is about to be a much more luxury experience than a sleeping bag in my back seat, complete with plenty of kahwa, new socks, and some scary campfire stories from Ahmed. Grandma, what are you making for us? Good morning! I'm driving now to Wadi. So I'm going there for two reasons. First, because I love beautiful nature, I love beautiful pools, but second, because I really need a shower and some fresh water. So a wadi is a dried out riverbed. They are all over Arabia and they are some of the coolest hikes ever because they're usually a little greener. Welcome to my shower location. Oh my god, it's freezing. Howdy y'all, I am in Nizwa. It is currently 36 degrees Celsius. I've made it to Oman's historic capital of Nizwa in one sweaty piece. The city is one of the oldest in Oman, its roots tied to the foundation of Islam itself. The history can be felt everywhere. It's time for some biryani and mint lemonade before visiting the Nizwa souq. It's here I encounter another group of locals who, as usual, offer me kahwa and conversation. However, this time it quickly turns sour. Howdy folks, editing Jenna here. So I just wanted to hop in for a second and tell y'all what happened because in the aftermath, I didn't really film anything. I was just feeling really overwhelmed. So I was just walking around the Nizwa souq taking some photos and this group of guys saw me and they kind of were like, oh, take our photo, take our photo. So I took a photo of them and then they did this sort of typical invite me for some kahwa. So as we're sitting there drinking our coffee, they were asking me the typical questions and then they kind of asked me where I was planning to stay in Nizwa that night. I told them that I was camping with friends just to kind of be ambiguous about where I'd actually be and also not let on that I was alone. When they heard this, one of the men was like, we have a guest room at our house, you are more than welcome to it. I honestly wasn't that taken aback by this because Omani people have been so freaking hospitable. I also didn't really feel comfortable with it though, so I just sort of politely declined and changed the subject, and I thought it was all gonna be fine. So we kept talking for a little while longer, but things sort of started to get weird, and I started to suspect that maybe these men did not have the most pure of intentions. And then basically the oldest man in the group, like he was literally a grandfather, he looks at me and he made this joke about getting me drunk, and then he said, you know, when you come and you stay in our house, you won't actually sleep in the guest room. You'll sleep in my bed with me. We'll sleep together. So I think that we all know that feeling when you just feel this deep, deep fear and you know that somebody wants to hurt you. I knew this man would hurt me if I gave him the chance. I basically knew that it was time for me to get out of there, and I said goodbye and they all kind of laughed it off, and I just went to my car as fast as I could and drove to my campsite. I know that it could have been a lot worse, and I know that I'm really lucky that nothing did happen, but I basically did not sleep that night. I kept having all of these intrusive thoughts about whether they had followed me or whether they knew where I was or knew what my car looked like. I don't tell this story to fearmonger or to further perpetuate this myth that travel is inherently dangerous. Listen, y'all, literally everything is inherently dangerous as a woman, and I think we know why, but I also don't want to let that define my life and define who I am. The majority of interactions that I have while traveling are positive, and that's part of why I enjoy making these videos, is because I want to share those and I want to change the narrative and show that most people in the world are good, but there's also always that one creep. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Looking back on that moment, I sat there longer than I should have because I was worried about offending the culture. Nobody's culture is more important than your safety and your security. Nobody's feelings are ever more important than your safety and security. I tell this story, I guess, just because I want to be honest about my travels, the good and the bad, but I also just want to show up transparently and to be real about everything that really happened. So thanks for listening, and let's get back to the fun stuff now. Good morning. So it is my final morning in my little house, and I'm feeling kind of nostalgic. I'm gonna miss it. It's been nice to have it kind of as my home, even when I'm all by myself. Though, let's be honest, have I even been all by myself that much at all this week? I feel like I've just met people every step of the way. That is one of my favorite things in the world about solo traveling. Anyway, we have one final stop before I take this car back to Muscat. What is this final stop? None other than Nizwa's famous goat souq. This market only takes place on Friday mornings, with local shepherds traveling for hours to make a sale. I've timed my trip right to have the opportunity to see some of the most beautiful goats that Nizwa has to offer. And the best place to see these goats, you ask? Very, very ungracefully got to the top up here, but now I have these views. Okay, so I've left the goat market with no goats, but now I am on the hunt to find a karakti, maybe some paratha too. My time alone is coming to an end. I'm heading back to Muscat, getting my car ready to be returned, but of course there's always time for one last swim. I'm not actually saying goodbye to Oman today. My friends have driven from Dubai to spend one last night with me before we head back to the big city. We take our time heading back up the coast to the UAE, swimming in wadis and chasing crabs on beaches along the way. It feels good to be a passenger again, watching Oman pass by outside my window. I'm struggling with how to end this video because I feel like there's so much to say and also no proper way to really say it all. What I will say is that my time in Oman reminded me of two things. The first being the kindness and the goodness of people. The second reminder was that of my own strength. I feel like doing this by myself was an act of courage, and I hope that by watching this video, it can at least be a small reminder that we are all capable of so much more than we might believe. If you like this kind of video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and stick around for the next adventure. I'll see y'all next time.